Millionaire fired the cleaner for playing with his son, until he learned the truth. The marble floors of the Grandwood estate gleamed under the morning sun, reflecting the opulence of the life lived within. It was a house so large it echoed, filled with antiques, crystal chandeliers, and priceless art. But despite the wealth, it lacked something vital: laughter. That had faded years ago, along with Rachel, Daniel Whitmore's wife. Daniel Whitmore was a self-made millionaire, the CEO of a thriving tech company, and the kind of man who demanded perfection, from his employees, from his environment, and most unforgivingly, from himself. Since Rachel's death, he'd buried himself in work, leaving his 6-year-old son, Oliver, in the care of nannies and schedules. Their home had grown quiet, their relationship distant. One rainy Tuesday morning, Daniel arrived home early, briefcase in hand, Bluetooth still ringing in his ear from a call he didn't care to finish. He was irritated. By traffic, by incompetent board members, and most of all, by the unshakable emptiness he felt every time he stepped into his grand, cold mansion. But as he walked down the hallway, something unexpected caught his attention. Laughter. Not the polished giggle of a hired nanny or the forced chuckle of a tutor, but the full-bellied, genuine laughter of his son. It stopped him in his tracks. Curious and slightly annoyed, Daniel followed the sound to the grand living room, where he froze in disbelief. There was Oliver, rolling on the floor in a sea of Legos, superhero action figures scattered everywhere. And beside him, also laughing and pretending to fly like Superman, was Marco, the estate's part-time cleaner. Daniel's face turned red. "Marco," he barked, his voice like a whip. Marco jumped to his feet, brushing his uniform and stammering, "Mr. Whitmore, I didn't mean, I was just." "You're playing with my son." "On the clock." Daniel's voice was ice cold. "You're paid to clean, not to entertain." Oliver stood up, confused and wide-eyed. "Dad, Marco was just helping me build the Batcave, he's really good at it." But Daniel didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on Marco, and without another word, he pointed to the door. "You're dismissed. Collect your things." Marco didn't argue. He simply nodded, eyes cast low, and walked away. Later that night, over dinner, Oliver barely touched his food. "Why did you fire Marco?" he asked quietly. "He wasn't doing his job," Daniel replied, sipping wine. "He crossed a boundary." Oliver frowned. "But he was the only one who ever plays with me." Those words hung in the air like a silent accusation. Daniel didn't respond, but something inside him stirred. The next day, Daniel received a letter. Not an email, not a text, a handwritten letter, folded carefully and left at the front gate. It was from Marco. "Dear Mr. Whitmore, I want to apologize if I overstepped. I never meant to disrespect your home or your rules. I only played with Oliver because he looked lonely. I know it's not my place, but I saw something in your son that reminded me of my own little brother, Miguel. When we were kids, we used to build cities out of cardboard boxes and turn old shoes into spaceships. It was the happiest part of our childhood. After our parents passed away, I had to raise Miguel. We didn't have toys or tutors, just each other. I lost him last year, he was only 15. Wrong place, wrong time. Since then, I've tried to honor him by being there for kids who might feel alone, even if only for a few moments. I know I was just the cleaner, but thank you for letting me meet Oliver. He's a bright, beautiful soul. Please don't tell him I said goodbye. Just let him keep building, and maybe one day, he'll build something big enough to heal the world. Marco." Daniel sat with the letter for a long time. The silence in the room felt heavier than usual. He looked around the massive dining hall, 12 chairs, one boy, and a father too haunted by his own grief to connect. Later that night, Daniel quietly opened the door to Oliver's room. The boy was asleep, one hand resting on a half-built Lego tower, the other curled into a small fist. Beside him was a single photo, Marco, smiling, with a Batman mask on his head. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, running his fingers through Oliver's hair. For the first time in years, he allowed his walls to crack. Tears slipped silently down his cheeks. The next morning, Daniel made a call. "Marco. I was wrong." There was silence on the other end. "I let my own pain blind me. My son doesn't need more perfection, he needs connection. Please come back. Not as a cleaner. As a friend. As someone who sees him." When Marco returned, Oliver ran into his arms, giggling and full of joy. Daniel watched from a distance, his heart both aching and healing at once. Slowly, he began to join them. One block at a time, one game at a time. The grand mansion didn't feel so cold anymore. It rang with laughter, with the click of Lego pieces, with conversations about superheroes and spaceships. Daniel even started coming home early, sometimes with ice cream, sometimes just to sit and listen. Marco became more than just a friend to Oliver. He became family. Months later, Daniel set up a foundation in Miguel's name, the Little Giants Fund, dedicated to supporting underprivileged children through creativity and play. He hired Marco to lead it. At the foundation's opening, Daniel took the stage, his voice thick with emotion. "There was a time I thought money could fix everything. That work could fill the silence. But it took a cleaner, a child, and a pile of Legos to teach me the most important lesson of all: connection is what builds a life worth living." The audience applauded, some with tears in their eyes. After the speech, Daniel knelt beside Oliver and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Oliver smiled and held out a tiny Lego brick. "Here, Dad. You can be part of the Batcave now." Daniel laughed, a deep, genuine laugh that hadn't escaped his lips in years, and placed the brick on the growing tower. Because sometimes, the strongest foundations aren't made of stone or steel. They're made of love, forgiveness, and a little boy's belief that anyone can be a hero, even a cleaner with a broken heart.